1, 2, 3, let's go.
Wednesday afternoon, hoping you will tune into our show. It's hosted by Cuz.
Welcome back to the Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast. And in case you're just joining us, you're listening to the Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast with Emmy, Hikins and Trevor.
As it's going on underfoot, and that's kind of our consciousness. The brain, the consciousness is pretty much the smallest part of the brain activities. So we are very limited to know quite what it is about. We think we're controlling ourselves. We talked before, you and I, Cuz, about free will, and there's a lot of thinking that because the brain actually makes most decisions which never come to the surface. For example, it will make a decision if we find somebody attractive, if we don't like somebody, if we like a particular colour. We suddenly think, oh, I like that colour, I like that person. We don't even have to think about it because through probably years of hardwired evolution, our brains, or the brain in humans, has learned through natural selection what is the best particular thing in any area we're looking at. So it tells us what we like, what we find tasty with food and stuff like that. We don't really have to make that decision, although we think sometimes that we do. The one question this is leading to, which I'd like to then talk about with both of you, a story from 1966 in Texas. There was a guy, a 25-year-old guy called Charles, I think his name was Charles Whitman, and he was an ordinary guy, quite intelligent, going about his work. He was married, lived with his wife Kathy. Well, one day, it was actually the 1st of August in 1966, apparently, he, with a huge trunk of rifles, guns, ammunition, and so on, went to the University of Austin, the tower. He went up in the lift to the top floor, and eventually he exited onto the roof. But before he did, he shot dead the receptionist, and then there were other tourists sort of coming out into where he was. He shot them, didn't all die, some of them did, including a pregnant lady. He went to the roof and he was taking pot shots at people below. Well, of course, after pretty quick police action, he was shot dead, but he left the suicide note. And I'd just like to read you that suicide note. But before I do, I tell you that 13 people were shot dead, he killed, and 33 were badly wounded. Let me ask you, before I tell you what his suicide note, because he knew he'd be shot dead, it was death by cop, I suppose. What sentence would you give to him? I'll ask you first, Cuz. For what he did, what would your appropriate sentence be for him?
Well, it would be 13 accounts of first-degree murder, and however many accounts of attempted murder, I suppose. I may even put that on trial by insanity, but then that depends on the disclosure of the suicide note.
Yeah,
that would be.
So what would you say? Okay, there's the suicide note, but purely on the basis of all those murders and it clearly gone crazy. What would you give him, the death penalty if you believe in the death penalty, or would you say life in prison with no parole?
Do you know what? I suppose it depends, and I suppose this is a point that we're going to get to. I suppose it depends on his level of remorse. Now, for somebody who doesn't have remorse, then yeah, absolutely, death penalty. For somebody who has remorse...
We're going to take a short break now. We're back shortly. You've been listening to the Alien Spaceship Talk Show with Trevor and Emmy Hikins. The Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast is looking for sponsors. If you're a company out there looking to spread the word about the products and services you provide, please get in touch with Deepstuff Radio Podcast on info@deepstuffrecords.com, or to use the contact form on our website to contact us, please visit radio.deepstuffrecords.com. Also, if you're looking to get involved on the Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast, reach out via our Deepstuff Radio Facebook page. Thank you.
into our show. It's hosted by Cuz. The leader of our gang will make the show go with a bang and fund the aim of everything Cuz does.